Akorja gweld Folcha Roy Galer. Good evening, Madam President, Your Excellencies, member of the Orectos, distinguished guests, dobry wieczór. 6 months ago, we gathered here at the Royal Irish Academy of Music to start our second Polish presidency in the Council of the EU in Dublin. Half a year passed quickly, very quickly. And we are gathering here again to conclude our presidency. The world has not become safer since then. Atrocities have been committed every day in Ukraine, Gaza, and many other places. We Europeans have a limited capacity to stop it, but we should always try. Together we can build a stronger Europe, and I hope today Europe has become stronger, more aware of the security challenges and more ready to address them. I hope we have contributed to this process and will continue working further to deepen the spirit of European solidarity. Thank you to the Royal Irish Academy of Music and especially Director Deborah Keller for your hospitality, my colleagues, ambassadors, for excellent and close cooperation, and thank you, Irish hosts, for your support. Denmark will take over the EU presidency in almost a week, and I wish my dear colleague, Ambassador Lars Thyssen, good luck. Akordia gwel igan blina bekshif inar mloga oges iganes, akorla on ontes orpi, a winter na heren genairi on tonlif. Tonight we will have an exceptional evening. This is not just another concert, but a concert that brings to Poland and Ireland together, bridging past and future. And here I would like especially thank to excellent team of our embassy, and especially Nicola Senkowska-Moroni, who I don't know why is in the end behind all of us, but she's behind this idea, of course, also. Für Acher en Renach on Nocturne lern tor in tag Polonech, nas kloder ela idirno on Polen August on Ehren. The creative mind behind this brilliant idea will tell us more about the music we will listen to tonight. Please let us welcome Linda Oshie-Farren to the stage. And because this is also my professor in Irish language, I will say at the end, Biog iha olen egrif galer. Miłego wieczoru.
Díomh go léir a cóide agus fáilte bhróibh chuig a cad a bhríag a ceol na hÉireann. Is ionta an rud é an tapassador a chlostáil ag leart ar deanga dúgúcis commuinach sin. It gives me great pleasure to introduce pianist Finghin Collins and Tamara Niekludow, who will perform wonderful Field and Chopin nocturnes together with preview performances of new nocturnes responding to them, composed by Aoife Kavanagh, Paweł Łukaszewski, François, Hildebrandt, and Benjamin Dwyer. Despite the fact that the Polish embassy has been so incredibly busy with Poland's presidency of the Council of the European Union throughout the past 6 months, it is a testament to their commitment to the arts that they still somehow found time to work on this project with me. Commissioning new works is absolutely central to every music project that I devise. Without this, we would not have the 4 composers here tonight And instead, Finghin and Tamara will be performing works by two wonderful composers, John Field and Fryderyk Chopin, who cannot be here tonight because they departed this world in 1837 and 1849, respectively. That gives you an idea of the value of contemporary music and hearing works by living composers. Hats off to the ambassador and to Nicola, Agnieszka and all the team at the embassy for managing to get the funding for these commissions. The world premiere performances of these new nocturnes tonight are a very fitting legacy to mark the conclusion of Poland's most successful second presidency of the Council of the EU. Just another word about this project, and that is another central plank of this project is the cultural exchange involved. So the fact that the Polish composers responded to Field nocturnes and the Irish composers responded to Chopin nocturnes. The mentoring by the established composer from one country of the emerging composer from the other country, and the sharing of the performances between pianists from both countries. I also would like to thank Deborah Kelleher, Director of the Academy, for allowing us to use this wonderful venue, and Deborah had a huge role in actually bringing this whole project to fruition, which has added great value to music in Ireland. We're also very, very happy that RTE Lyric FM is here tonight recording this for broadcast, so listen out for when it is relayed. I will now invite the composers and performers to join me on the stage, where we'll have a short panel discussion. I'll just ask them a short few questions for you to hear their voices and to see who they are, and maybe afterwards you can come up and chat to them. Thank you all very much. So we'll wait till people are seated. Fix the mics. Hopefully they're okay. François, I'm going to start out with you. Your title, Nocturne Number 1, is an interesting choice, not least because it's the Nocturne Number 1, and it suggests that you plan to compose more nocturnes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do plan to compose more nocturnes at some point. I wanted to have a title that evokes maybe the period that I was referring to in my piece. So when you hear Nocturne Number 1, it sounds classical, and maybe my piece will sound a little bit classical as well, with some contemporary twists. And I also wanted to keep you kind of on your toes, and you don't really know what it's about until you listen to it.
Oh, okay. So, and Aoife, why did you choose the Chopin Nocturne to which you are responding?
Yeah, I just thought it was a really beautiful nocturne. I wanted something that contrasted with the nocturne that Ben had picked, so I picked one that's in a major key. But even though it's in this major key, it has this sense of melancholy to it, and I really like that about the piece. So.
Okay, super. And Paweł, as recently as 2023, you composed a set of 15 nocturnes for piano, so quite a major undertaking. So clearly you have addressed the canon of nocturnes in a significant way. Can you tell us about your personal perspective on the nocturne as a form or genre of music?
First of all, I can say probably I'm the first composer after Chopin in Poland who composed nocturnes.
Fantastic.
It's not typical.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for invitation and commission. I've always been fascinated by the nocturne because of its double nature. On one hand, it's quiet, intimate, even meditative, and the other, it can carry strong emotions and deep drama. For me, a nocturne is more than just mood music. It's a space for personal reflection and dialogue with silence, with time. Time, it's very spiritual. For me also, because I'm composer of sacred music. So maybe Nocturne is also a little bit sacred piece.
I think we'll all find when we're listening to them tonight that we will hear the spirituality coming through. Ben, you're the only composer who chose a Polish title. I'll allow you to pronounce it. I've been practicing it, but I won't trust myself. So can you tell us the significance of this title?
François, would you pronounce that title for me perfectly?
Zmierzch.
Zmierzch. The clap should be for me. Zmierzch. Yeah. I really didn't want to pick Nocturne in case I might be compared to Chopin. But I did think of this word, and I zoomed François and I said, would you repeat this word for me again and again? And I noticed that it kind of, the word itself sort of melts into this sh sound, which was dusk-like. So I thought, actually, this word is perfect for the music that I want to play. It means twilight, actually. And so it not only does it describe twilight, but it sounds like twilight happening. And so for me, it was the perfect title.
Great. So Tamara, Chopin nocturnes are central to piano teaching the world over, including in this academy. So prior to moving to Ireland, or prior to this project, had you ever performed any field nocturnes?
I actually have to admit I did not.
No, that's interesting for us.
I think the reason for that is because in Poland, Chopin is like our musical god, basically, and we play Chopin since we're 7 or 8, and we play so much of a Chopin that we forget sometimes to just, discover other music, because we're just so in love with Chopin. And I've actually loved the field nocturne that I'm playing now, and I believe that in time I would like to actually play all of them, because I think they're just amazing.
Well, you see, that's all part of the cultural exchange that we are trying to engender in this project. That you will potentially play others and play them all over the world.
Oh, definitely.
And that brings me very neatly to Finghin, because Finghin was taught by John O'Connor from a very, very young age. I'm going for 4 or 5 or something like this.
Well, I came into John here when I was 6.
6, the ripe old age of 6. So, and John O'Connor, as all of us in this room know, is singularly associated with highlighting Field's nocturnes all throughout his career. So I'm just wondering, at what point did he sort of introduce you to Field?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly the answer to that question, but certainly early on, I remember learning the B-flat major nocturne, the 5th nocturne, which will not be performed this evening, but which is possibly his most famous one. And I would have played that at an early age, and he would have given me field nocturnes to learn at different stages of my development.
Yeah.
And I've always played field, and I've very often performed field nocturnes as encores as well when I perform around the world. It's a nice tribute to home. And before things got nasty, I had the great joy of performing field in the Irish Embassy in Moscow back in 2019, because of course Field is a huge, he's hugely famous in Russia, having lived and died there. I went to see his grave, and people there have a very emotional attachment to Field. His name and his nocturnes are mentioned in War and Peace, so he's a real institution in Russian culture, which was lovely to share over there. But I'm always proud to play John Field.
Fantastic. Paweł, responding to Field's Nocturne Pastorale and choosing your own title, Autumn Nocturne, for your new work, was your inspiration more on Earth than the cosmos, because your series of 15 are inspired by the cosmos?
My first idea was compose Warsaw Autumn Nocturne, because in Warsaw we have very important festival of contemporary music, Warsaw Autumn, but it's not connected with Field. So I decided Autumn Nocturne, but not 2 words, 1 word. And maybe my goal was Polish autumn, color of the trees, and sometimes maybe also Irish autumn. I don't know very well, but probably it's the same.
Lots of rain in Ireland.
So not cosmos, but our world.
Okay. And Aoife, your title, Dreamscape, and does that tell us anything about your inspiration for this new work?
It absolutely does. So I suppose my reaction to the Chopin Nocturne was firstly an emotional one. And when we think of nocturnes, generally speaking, you're thinking night music. And this nocturne in particular reminded me of a dream. You know, you're falling asleep and sometimes you have nice dreams and then sometimes you have something that's more unsettling. And I kind of wanted to reflect both sides of that and also play with the term nocturne a bit, so hence the dreamscape.
Right. And Tamara, you're a composer yourself as well as being a pianist. And so when you're asked to premiere new works by other composers, as you were in this project, do you find yourself sort of looking under the bonnet of the music from a composer's perspective?
I have to say that I was very honoured to be asked to take part in that project in the first place, and being able to talk to a composer, it was just amazing, because we often play the music that's been composed years and years, centuries sometimes ago, and we usually can find very, very little about the piece itself. So it is sometimes very hard for us to find that perfect interpretation. So what I always try to do is to dig deep into the music score that I get and try to be as precise as I can. And I can only hope that the composers would approve of my interpretation later.
Okay, so Ben, you know, can you tell us about your compositional approach to this new work?
Yes. Well, yeah, the first thing is that the nocturne, like the impromptu, belongs to a kind of a formless form. So it's not so strict in terms of its formality. I responded to the Opus 48, which you'll hear tonight. It's an amazing piece. But what I wanted to do, I didn't want to emulate Chopin's style, but I was interested in the way that his music is very improvisatory, and I do a lot of improvisation myself, so I was able to tap into that. In particular, in my piece, you'll hear this sort of ostinato, which I take directly from the Opus 48 by Chopin. And so the music is divided between this rhythmic aspect and this this strand of the music that goes forward, moves forward beyond tempo or slows down. So there's this, hopefully, this disorientation in the pulse of the piece, which is a little bit reminiscent of a nocturnal dream, which isn't going the way you want it to go, you know, which has its dark, disturbing elements to it, yeah.
Right. And François, as a relatively newly minted composer, he's just graduated, what were your first steps in forming your own approach to elevating this work from a blank page to the stage here tonight?
Well, the first thought was, this is not a school assignment. So I tried to still, though, analyze a little bit, listen, analyze, and after a deep analysis, I realized that analysis is not going to help me, because the melodies that Field writes cannot be replicated in any way. They are purely personal, and you just have to embrace your own personality to write melodies that potentially sound authentic, like those of Field. So after analysis, I just kind of tried to improvise things on the piano, and that's how the piece came to be.
Great, great. And Finghin, Ben and François took very, very different approaches, the audience will hear that later, to their new nocturnes, even though Ben mentored François, but they took their own approaches. So when first approaching any new work, how do you kind of get into the mind of the composer?
It's difficult to say how I do that. Maybe I don't. Maybe I stay in my own mind. I take the piece as a composer rather than, I take the piece as a performer, obviously, rather than as a composer. I'm not a composer, so I don't see it as from this point of view of a composer. I never really had a composing talent or an improvising talent. I'm in awe of people who can do that. So I take it for what it is, and I learn it, and I try to follow the instructions as best I can. And I'm sort of the mind that you should be able to learn it without having to collaborate too much. It's nice to be able to collaborate with the composer. It's not a luxury we have with Beethoven and Chopin. But on the other hand, I think it's nice to be able to be independent and to make one's own of a piece as well and bring a bit of my personality to it. As I say, follow all the instructions that you're given. And if there are a couple of questions, it's really handy to be able to get answers. But I try to bring a performer's perspective to it, really.
Well, actually, I know from dealing with composers for so long, they love the fact that a performer makes a totally different interpretation of their work. That's the exciting part for them. And so I just have one more question for everybody quickly, because I wanted to focus on the mentorship aspect. So Aoife, can you just tell us just a short idea of how that mentorship, affected you? Or
Yeah, sure. So it was amazing to work with Paweł. Like, it's amazing always to be mentored by someone established, but someone as established as Paweł, who has had this amazing career and continues to have an amazing career. So we had a couple of online sessions. We're not living in the same country, so that was necessary. And we mostly talked about a little bit about style, but mostly conversations around notation. It's one thing to have the idea, but it's another thing to get the idea onto the page in a way that's going to make it easy for the pianist to read. So he was really helpful in that regard.
perfect, yeah. And François, what about you and how you worked with Ben? How you used that opportunity, if you like?
Well, it was a great opportunity as well, of course. And the first time we met was actually in person. We were fortunate enough to be together in Warsaw for about 24 hours. So we had the opportunity to meet up over a drink, chit-chat. We became, I believe, friends. And I learned a lot, not only about John Field, Chopin, the Nocturne, which are all subjects that we discussed, but also about Ireland, which I really didn't know much about. And so I discovered, thanks to Ben, a lot about the literature and the history and the culture. So that was also an educational perspective more broadly. And then when it came to the actual writing of the piece, Ben was a great consultant to have regarding technique and notation and everything else that's musical.
Well, Ben is a renowned world-class guitarist, so he travels a lot to perform, and Poland happens to be one of the countries, which was one of the reasons I also included Ben in this project, because I knew he knew Poland so well. Tamara, Finghin alluded to it there, it's nice to have an opportunity to chat to the composer before you perform. Is there anything, you had a little bit of time with your two composers?
Yes, I think I agree with what Finghin said, that we always hope that the composers have left enough for us to discover their work, so that long conversations are simply not needed. But I did get a chance to play the pieces for Paweł and Aoife, and they seemed happy. Hopefully, they weren't just being nice and kind. So no, it was great, and again, I'm just super honored, to be performing a piece, and I know how much it means to me as a composer when I get to hear my pieces performed during the great exams here in the Academy and around Ireland. I'm just beyond happy at this stage. So I hope you all love the pieces as much as we do.
So we're getting very close to the performances. You've pretty much answered that question for me, Finghin.
Okay.
But Paweł, did you run into any issues just that surprised you with this Nocturne?
Yes, the biggest surprise was how hard it's to write something simple, but not boring.
Yeah. Well.
And probably I know something more, and I come up with the idea to keep Field's original rhythm, but replace all the melodies and harmonies with my own. And probably it's very different than François. He thought that it's not possible.
Yes. And Ben, I'll give you the last word. So, can you just very quickly, before we hand over to the wonderful performers, just describe sort of the challenge of that a composer faces when asked to compose into the canon of masterworks of this nature?
Yes. And I think maybe this is possibly the challenge for all composers, living composers. I don't think composers, anybody works in a vacuum, nor performers either, yeah? And so if you have this project, which is a stunning project with Field and Chopin, and obviously you have to look back at these masters, but you want to look forward at the same time and receive from them what you can, but articulate it in your own musical signature. And that's a challenge. I think as well, some composers have this sense that they need to make something new all the time, when in actual fact we're all recreating. We just need to do it creatively, you know. And I'll just say one more thing, if that's okay. That what I love about this project in particular is the fact that, as I say, we don't work alone. You know, I'm depending on Finghin to perform this work. It's such a special thing to have happen to your work, because we do work in isolated moments, you know, and it's such a tribute. But to this exchange is really important. It's really about human consciousness, you know, and creativity in action, not least what you've brought yourself, because this is one of the most creative projects that I've ever been involved with, and I'm running festivals for 20 years. It's totally integrated, and I've learned so much from Chopin again, and it's a very humbling project to be part of. So thank you very much, and thank you to Finghin and all involved.
Okay, well, thank you all very much for being involved in this panel discussion. And if you could give a round of applause, please, to them all.